Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. We are just going to give people one more minute to hop on. All right, Darby, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you all for joining. We did have a slight schedule change, so if you did not receive the updated email, we will be moving our guest speaker to next month. So be on the lookout for another schedule change email coming. Thank you so much for being flexible. So this month we are going to be covering improving productivity in teams, specifically Planner and Power Automate. And then at the end, we'll also review new features that were released in the GCC Cloud this month, as well as features that are on the roadmap. Darby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Bridget. Hello, everyone. For all of you that may be new here, my name is Darby O'Brien. I am a customer success manager for state and local government. I'm based out of Reston, Virginia, but I cover government organizations all across the U.S.
And my name is Bridget Ballard. I'm also a customer success manager. I live in the Pacific Northwest and cover accounts out there as well as California. And my home office is in Bellevue, Washington. So we just have a few slides before we go ahead and move into the demo. For those of you that haven't worked in Planner before, Planner is a productivity application that is part of the Office 365 suite, and it is one of those applications that also ties directly into Teams. You can specifically make plans with inside of Teams, or you can also, on the next screen, you'll see that you can actually use the Planner app to make plans as well. Each are compatible, so you can easily make your plans in here and tie it into Teams, or you can make your planner directly from Teams. We will also be covering Power Automate. Previously, if you're familiar with it, it was called Flow. So if we accidentally say Flow, we do mean Power Automate. But this is a way to easily automate tasks. It comes with pre-built templates, but if there's things that you would prefer to make on your own, you have the ability to customize your Power Automates as well. Anything else to add there, Darby, before we jump into the demo?
No, I think that's good. I think it really comes to life in the demo, so.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me switch my screen for 1 second. Awesome, Darby. Can you queue me up into the live event if it's not already in the queue?
I see you as live.
Perfect. Okay. So as you can see, we are inside a demo tenant. I'm specifically working inside of a finance team. So all of our plans that we've built out are specifically related to a finance team. So right now I'm in the general channel. And if you look up here on the top, you see all the tabs that I have pinned up here. So what I'm going to go into is our weekly reporting tab. When I click on it, you'll see, and let me just pop this back out for a second. When I click on it, you'll see that we have this fully built out planner. Now, before I jump into what it looks like to build it out, I do want to show how to add it to the top. If you ever added a tab before, you're going to click on the same area that you would for any other tab, this little plus sign on the top. And then you'll notice right here, you have the planner tab. So when I go to click on it, I do have two options. I can create a new plan, or I can use an existing plan from this team. This is extremely helpful if you'd like to copy this plan into all of the channels within the team. If it's something that is relevant to each channel, you can absolutely duplicate those in there. So you'll notice my weekly scrum shows up and use an existing plan. So I'm going to X out of here because we already have one created, but those are your two options for how to create a specific plan. All right. So now, and let me minimize this really quickly. Now what we'll see in here is the plan itself. At the top, we have what we call buckets. So you can see add new bucket over here on the right-hand side. Darby and I have named these to do this week, to do next week, low priority, and then this is a testing one. So if you want to add a new bucket, you simply go right here, click on it, and I'm just going to do live event test. You'll see now you have the option to create tasks under this live event test as well. Just scroll back over. So you'll notice that each of them looks a little bit different. We did that on purpose to show all of the details that you can include inside a plan. For instance, this red marking right here is something that's overdue, and you'll notice how there's notes in this one. So let's go ahead and build out one of these fully. I'm going to add a task to do this week. And so right before you add it, you have two options. You can set your due date. And so because I said I want to complete it this week, we'll want to put it completed by tomorrow. And then you have the option to assign people. It's going to populate people that are within your team. You have the option of just clicking on them, or you have the option of typing in their name. Great, so now we've assigned both of these to Joanna and Deborah, and we're going to click add. And it pops under the to do this week task bucket. So how do I specifically go in and add more information? You'll go and you'll just click right in the center, and it'll pop up all this additional information right here. So you have the option to show the progress, in progress, not started or completed. You can set a priority. Let's mark it urgent because it is due tomorrow. And then something that is cool that I like to use a lot is typing a description. So let's say I wanted to leave a little note for Deborah and Joanna. So I'll just say D and J, please complete. So now when it's assigned to them, they'll see this message that I left for them. I can also click show on card. So then when they go and look at their card task, they can also see it on here. Another cool feature is the checklist. So let's say that there's multiple things that I need them to do within the budget. I can say proof, Excel doc. So now I have a checklist that they can go down and click, mark each one as complete. So when I click on it, it will cross it out. Let's say I accidentally marked it as complete, I can easily go and unclick it. I also have the ability to add attachments in here. So if I wanted to add the budget directly into this task so that they only have to go to one place, I can add it right here. And then comments. We use this as a best practice internally. So when I assigned it to Joanna and Deborah, they can actually come down here and leave comments. So if they have any questions or they just want to tell me that they're getting it done and that it'll be done soon, they can leave it in this comment section right here. Last thing I'd like to point out while we're inside of this specific plan are these tabs on the side. You can flag things as certain categories. So you'll notice that we are using the pink one, the dark orange, and then the blue one down at the bottom. So the pink one, you'll see we've named updating internal documents. So it's just another way to organize things if this is helpful for you. So I will mark this one as pink because this correlates to updating an internal document. Awesome. So when I exit out of here, you'll see all the information on this side right here. So when I'm done with it and it's all complete, I simply click completed, and you'll notice that it goes down here to the bottom and I can show completed. So it never takes them out of Planner unless you specifically delete it. You'll be able to see everything that's done below here. A few other things I'd like to point out before we hand it over to Darby are just the different viewing options that you have. So let's say you only want to filter to things that are relevant to you or to you and your colleague. So I can filter between Deborah and Diego. And so now it's only showing me ones where Deborah and Diego are tagged. You can do similarly for things that are due this week. So you can easily filter just as you would in Excel. Now, let me take these off just so it makes a little bit more sense. I can also group by different things. So if you don't like grouping by bucket, let's say that you want to group by labels. Now I have it grouped by all the specific labels that I've set. So you'll notice how I mentioned pink was updating internal sites. Orange was conversations that we needed to have with management. And then over here we had external tasks and new year planning. So you have the option to view by whatever is easiest for you to understand. Personally, I like doing it assigned to, so I can see what is specifically assigned to me. And so when you click assign to, now you'll see how it's under every single person, and you can filter to yourself, and you can also easily see your team's progress as well. In terms of viewing in different panels, you can also go over here to the top left-hand side, view in charts. So as you'll notice, it's just a different way to break everything down. Your tasks are still over here on the side, but you can see the completion status. It's a little bit easier to see this way, all in one chart. And you can also view it as a schedule. So let's go back to the board. And I'm going to go back to bucket. So one last thing, and I apologize, it might be, I'm going to try and zoom in up here so you can see it a little bit easier. You also have the option to chat just as you would in a Teams meeting or when you're working on a co-authoring document. So I can chat with people that are specifically a member of this channel and that are going to specifically be working in this plan. And then last thing I'd like to show is this little world icon up here at the top. I like to call it the world icon. It's what it looks like to me. It actually goes out to the Planner website. So when I click on it, now I'm in the Planner application as part of Office 365. You'll notice how it looks exactly the same task-wise. It looks a little bit different, just application-wise. So this is the Planner app itself. I can edit directly in here as well. They're completely interchangeable. As a best practice, though, we generally recommend if it's going to be a plan that you're working in inside of Teams, just go ahead and build it inside of Teams. But if it's one where you're just going to be using the Planner app, then you can absolutely build it out in here. Something that's cool in here as well is you have a My Task button. So I can click My Tasks and you'll only see what's assigned to me. So I'm logged in as the administrator of this account, so I don't have that many assigned because I'm not a specific user. But if I was Joanna or Deborah, like I mentioned before, you would see a lot more tasks that I had assigned to them in here. Do you have anything else to add, Darby, that I might have missed?
I don't think so.
Perfect. All right. Well, I will stop sharing on mine and we can go ahead and switch screens into yours.
All right, I will share. Let's see. All right, Bridget, let me know whenever you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Awesome. So let me minimize this down here. So what I want to kind of jump into next is Power Automate, or you may hear me call it Flow. We changed the name, so I kind of go back and forth. But let's kind of start with what is Power Automate, right? So Power Automate is an automated workflow tool. So this can turn highly repetitive tasks into workflows that do some of the work for you, and it just makes your life a lot easier. There's a lot of different things you can do with this tool, so I would highly encourage you to play around with it. And the absolute best part is this is low to no code. So there's a ton of templates already preloaded into the page that really just require you clicking, telling it where to post these messages, what to do, and none of that, more technical coding side of it. So today I want to show you 3 easy examples of how to use Power Automate and how you could be using it right now to automate some tasks. So the 3 examples I want to show you today is how to receive a notification when someone fills out a Microsoft form that you created. That's a great use case for maintenance tickets. So that way, maybe your maintenance team can then receive a notification that someone has submitted a ticket right inside of Teams. I also want to show you an example of how to receive a notification when somebody updates a SharePoint list. And the third example I want to show you is how to email into a channel with Power Automate. So that's actually a feature that's not yet available, but with Flow, it's an excellent and super easy workaround that you can do it just the same. So with that, let's get started. The first flow I want to show you is the one that refers to receiving a notification when someone fills out a form. So I'm going to click into this Microsoft Forms here. I built this out for this demo, doing that maintenance example that I was talking about earlier. If you've never used Microsoft Forms, I would encourage you to check it out. It's really similar to things like SurveyMonkey, etc., right? So you can create these questions and you can do things like long answer, extended response, multiple choice, totally up to you. But the point is, what we want to build right now is when someone submits this, when an end user fills this out, I want to receive a notification in Teams. So let's take a look at how we can do that. So I'm going to click into Power Automate. If it's your first time clicking into Power Automate, I would suggest you go to templates here and just take a look. A lot of this is built out already. There's so many applications you can connect to, including third-party applications. So I would just take a look, no need to reinvent the wheel here. But for the sake of today's demo, I'm going to go to Create because this is a super easy 2-step flow. And I just want to build it here myself. And so I'm going to click Automated Flow here. And I skip this section. And so what you want to do first is create the trigger, right? So you want, when this happens, I want this. So the first thing we want is to connect this to Microsoft Forms. And we've got the connector here. So what you just saw is I hit create instead of a template, and this is not throwing me to the wolves in terms of what do I need to code, what do I need to bring together. It's still really clear. What I want is an action from Forms. So I'm going to click into Microsoft Forms and you'll see all of your trigger options. The only one here is when a new response is submitted, which is exactly the trigger I want, right? When a new response is submitted, I want to receive a message in Teams. So here you're going to click the form. This is nice and simple because I'm in a demo tenant, so I only have one form. So I'm going to click this maintenance request form and hit new step. Now what I want is when a new response is submitted, I want a message in Teams. So I'm going to click this as my action. And I'm going to click this post a message option. There's a lot of choices here if you want it to do something else when that response is submitted, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to post a message. So now what you need to do is select the team in the channel that you want this message to appear. And I want this to appear in my ticketing team in the general channel. And I'll just create a message here that says a new response has been submitted. All right, and I'm going to save that. So before I click out and test this, I do want to show you this in the top right-hand corner. You've got another save button here, but you've also got a flow checker, which is really cool. This will tell you if you've got any loose ends in that flow that it's going to fail because of. So you can see any errors or warnings. I can see I don't have any right now, but if you noticed, it flashed red when I hadn't filled out this card. So it'll let you know where you need to check back up on for this to work. And you can also test it. So if you want to test this in a more controlled environment before just sending this live and having it affect your end users, You can test it right in here, but because I'm in a demo tenant and this isn't going to affect anyone, I'm just going to test it by sending it live. So I have now saved this flow. So what we can do is give this a test. I'm going to click back into my forms here, and I'm going to go into preview mode, and I'm going to fill this out. So enter some test responses and submit. So that was my trigger that was supposed to make it show up in Teams. So let's click back into Teams and see. Sometimes it does need a minute to send through. So if we need to complete the next flow before seeing it, I will do that, but let's go ahead and just check. So we're gonna go into the ticket reporting audit team. This is where I asked it. And as you can see here, that is the response I asked it to send to me when someone had filled out the survey. Another thing I did here to make this a little bit easier, maybe if this was a more real scenario, was I added that survey right here. So that way maintenance team can go look at the end result, see who submitted that, and just adjust everything right inside of Teams instead of clicking into the forms webpage the way I was. So there you see the completed flow. So I know a new response has been submitted in Forms. Super, super simple. So now the next flow that I want to show you is updating the SharePoint list. So what I did is I built an example SharePoint list in this finance channel here. As all of you may already know, when you create a team, a SharePoint site is created on the back end. So I'm just utilizing one of those so that way I can connect this to Teams. I'm going to click into the Files tab and open in SharePoint. This is how you get to your team's SharePoint page from Teams. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, you've got a full-blown SharePoint page, and I've got this test list here that I created for this demo. So super simple process, right? Just some test items and a simple approval process. So what I want to create now is when someone comes in here and adjusts this, if they change the name of this, if they change approval status, I want to be notified in Teams. So let's go into Flow and make that happen. So save that again. And I'm going to go back to create, and I'm going to create another automated flow here. So now what I want the trigger to be is from SharePoint, right? So when someone updates that, I want to receive a notification. So SharePoint is my new trigger, and I'm going to say when an item is created or modified. So now I need to give it some details. I need to tell it which SharePoint page and which list I am talking about. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit new step. And like I said, again, I want this to send me a message in Teams. If you wanted this to send you an email, if you want it to do something else, you have that option. But for the sake of today's demo and keeping it in Teams, I'm going to hit Teams. And I'm going to have it send me a message again. So now I will select the team again. I'm going to go to my finance team in the general channel. And I will say someone has adjusted the SharePoint list. So let's save that. So now what I'm saying is when something is created or modified, I'm going to receive this message in Teams in the Finance General channel. So let's go ahead and test this now. I'm going to click, got a lot of these open. I'm going to click back into my finance list here and let's adjust one of these. So I will edit this and let's save this approval to yes. And maybe we'll go ahead and approve one of these down here. So now let's see if it worked inside of Teams. Like I said, sometimes it needs a second. So if it's not there, we'll check back after the next flow, but we might as well go check now. So I asked it to send me messages in this general channel. Let's take a look. Okay, let's give it a couple minutes and see if it posts here. This is where the message will show up to say something has been adjusted. So while we wait, oh, there we go. So now I know I've got this notification. Someone's adjusted my SharePoint list. I can go check it out. And then now the last example that I wanted to show you is emailing inside of a channel with a flow. So this is an awesome, awesome use case. And I realize that we are going a little fast with the demo to make time, but this is all being recorded so you can watch it back at any time. So what I want to do now is I want to create a flow in Power Automate that is going to send an email from a certain sender inside one of these channels, instead of just having email and Teams be separate entities in that case. So let's go into Flow and take a look at how we can do that. I'm going to go back out here. In the Flow website, once you save them, you can look into all of your flows, right? So here's the first two that we just created, and you can see if they're succeeding, if they're failing, if anything's going wrong. You can play around with them here. But let's create a new flow that will now email a whole channel. So I'm going to hit Automated Flow here. Let's get past this. And I want my trigger to be an email. So I'm going to click Office 365 Outlook. And I'm going to select when a new email arrives. So this one, the initial first option is what folder do you, when that email arrives in, which folder, then we'll send it to Teams. But I don't want all of my emails arriving to go right into Teams. Maybe you do, but for this case, I am going to keep it in my inbox. If you do have a specific folder that you do want all those emails going in Teams, I would suggest picking that one. And I'm going to click this Show Advanced Options because I want emails from a specific person going into my Teams channels. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use Bridget's demo email and have her send me an email to show this. So I want any email from the admin to come right into Teams as well. This doesn't mean they're not going to send in your email. It just means it's going to send in both places. So now what I have is when a new email arrives from this person, it will go into Teams, which is where I want it to go, right? So I'm going to click this Teams add-in. I'm going to post a message again. I'm going to have this look a little different. So I will pick my team and channel again. We'll keep it in the finance channel. And I will choose, or a finance team, I'll choose a different channel here. I'll go in the FY19 budget monitoring. And now you have this body of the message again, like you had before. And I could type in here, hey, you've gotten a new email from the admin. But actually what I'd like is that exact email, right? I want them to see everything that was in the email. So I'm going to use dynamic content. And again, no code here. It's just asking you what you'd like. It's so simple. So I want the subject and the body of the message to be sent in Teams. And so I'm going to save that. And now I have the trigger of when a new email arrives, it's going to post the subject and the body in my finance team in this channel. So I'm going to save that. And then I will ask Bridget kindly to email me and we will see if it shows up in that channel. So let me know whenever you send that, Bridget.
I just sent it over.
Okay, let's take a look. So I had it send in FY19. So here we go. I have, this was Bridget's subject line, and this is the body of her message, and that's the whole email in Teams. So now if you had an important email address that you want to make sure it's being sent in two places, if you let Flow know that, now all those emails are going to show up here too. It's a great way to bridge the two platforms. Really, really highly encourage you to play around with this tool. It's so great. And there are a ton of add-ins, a ton of templates already made. And I would just highly encourage you to play around with it and check it out. And that's all of the 3 flows I wanted to show you today. Did you have anything to add, Bridget?
I don't. We do have one question. Oh, I'm getting some feedback about that. We do have one in the Q&A. What am I looking at while I switch screens over into the
You're cutting out just a little bit. Let me click back in and see. So I think if I'm understanding the question is if you want to automate a flow to a general or a generic account, you should be able to do that. Especially if you have that account and it has access to things like Flow, you can build them if the licensing is available under that account.
Are you able to hear me, Darby?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
So switching over quickly, and I know we're at time. If you need to drop, feel free. But we just wanted to go over the new features that were released in Teams this month. As we know, a lot of them were highly anticipated. The list that you see were ones that were released, specifically 3x3 video and raise hand, which were two of our very highly anticipated ones. I would like to say, if you're not seeing these in your tenant, please do force log out and log back in. We've seen when people exit out, it's not the same as force log out. So be sure to force log out and log back in. And then also check in your admin tenant, things like attendance report, background replacement, inline translation. They do have settings within the admin panel that you can control. So just be mindful that these are released. And if for some reason you do not see them, please let somebody on your account team know so we can escalate that and solve that for you. And then lastly, before we sign off for today, just features that we have coming down the roadmap, Shifts app compatibility, which is coming very soon. So be on the lookout for that in your tenant. Some of you may already have it already. And then the other two, breakout rooms and our accessibility features, which we know are highly anticipated as well. We're looking at those for end of summer. If you have any additional questions, feel free to post them in here for us, or if you're able, reach out to somebody on your account team for additional information. But with that, Darby, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't. I hope this was helpful, and I hope this just painted a picture for some of the stuff you can do with those applications in Teams. And if you do have any questions on Power Automate or on Planner, I would just encourage you to reach out to your CSM or reach out to your account team. There's a lot we can do there. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And we are looking forward to seeing everyone again next month. We will stick around for a little bit to answer some questions in the Q&A. But if you need to leave, feel free to log off for the day. Thank you so much.